I think North Shore is different from other places because of the people.
I would describe North Shore first as a community and a culture and a philosophy.
I feel like North Shore is such a loving and open-minded environment.
There is a community here where everyone feels supported and accepted, and we feel like there is safety here.
You really have a sense that you walk in every day and everyone is there committed to your success and achievement academically, socially, emotionally, and that's a really powerful thing to experience as a student.
I can name a teacher from every single grade that I've been at North Shore, including JK and SK, that has had an instrumental impact in my life. Nothing compares to having teachers who care about you beyond the classroom.
And I think they give you a lot of self-confidence as faculty. You really have a chance to be somebody.
I think the best education is education where kids are known, where they can build their own identity, and this school does that in spades.
The teachers at North Shore, they're really fun and sometimes really funny, and they're really nice.
Well, put it this way, I enjoyed coming to school every day. You know, I really did. I look forward to coming to school.
The way that we treat each other, student to student, student to faculty, parent to faculty, parent to student, it's centered around respectful engagement. And I think, actually I don't think I know, that creates an environment where students can actually learn and be their best selves, even though when no one is watching.
Parents know the teachers, students know the teachers, and the teachers many times are coaches. And so you come here and it's not just about going to classes, but it's about extracurriculars, after-school play dates, it's about socialization, and then it's about having a relationship that lasts well beyond the 2, 4, 8, 10, 12, 14 years you may be here, that extends a lifetime.
When people are connected years down the line, it's because something good happened during that time.
I couldn't find this anywhere else. There's a spirit of learning, there's a spirit of community, which is so important to the ethos of the school.
The best learning, the richest learning, happens within the context of community. And I think that's something that is very real about this place, and it's something that has defined this place since it was founded.
According to historians, it started a little something like this.
And it really was a long time ago.
But when I look back now, the chapters just flew by.
There are some basic values and guidelines that never change and never become outdated.
Those of us who have gone through it are the ones who really know what that means.
North Shore was founded by a group of parents who were really thoughtful and intentional about the kind of education that they wanted for their kids. And they came up with this model that was growing at the time, the Country Day model. They were asking and answering the question, what matters most for educating a child? And they went to Perry Dunlap Smith.
My family were very much part of the starting of the school. They secured Perry Smith to head it, and I was at the first year that turned from Girton School to North Shore. P.D. Smith was both impressive, forbidding, and congenial, but he was always very present.
Perry Dunlap Smith took the best of all of these educational models and said, we can start from scratch. We can build something really remarkable.
You always had a sense that he was searching for the new, the different, and for you to be thinking out what you thought rather than depending on others.
He had a very clear and, I think, deep rooting in what progressive education really meant.
My father had a real estate business in Winnetka in October of 1928. 1 year later, real estate collapsed, and there was just no hope. He was out of a job for 5 years, and I got a scholarship at North Shore. I've never known who was responsible for it, except I'm sure that Perry Smith engineered it. He had started the school at North Shore, and I think he wanted to have a more cosmopolitan group than private schools attract.
We believe that trying to make this as diverse of a community as it can be across all kinds of different categories is going to make us a better school.
We are really deliberate about education around issues related to equity, diversity, and inclusion.
We talked about a lot of provocative topics at the time. You know, when you read To Kill a Mockingbird and different things like that, it brings up some very interesting discussion. Having supportive teachers who help you navigate those situations was incredibly important.
North Shore was way ahead of its time in terms of acceptance. We were one of the first Muslim Asian families in Skokie. And North Shore was such a change for us because no one looked at us differently because of our religion. We knew we were minorities in the school, but everyone was extremely accepting and understanding and caring, and you never felt at this school back in the 80s even that you were an outsider. The vision and the values that they had even back then always stuck with me as being something that was really impressive.
If you're in a class of 35 or 40 or 45 or 50 and you interact with those classmates as much as you do at North Shore, you're going to get to know them and become friends with kids who are not like you.
The beginning of the 9th grade is when I really kind of began to sort of blossom. The experience of being in plays to someone who was very embarrassed in speaking in public and blushed easily and all the problems that I had. The fact that you were assigned a role was really most scary and kind of unreal. But I did do it, and I think it was very helpful. I got a boost out of that, and I got enough of a boost so that I could attack college. I didn't have this feeling of inadequacy and so on that I had at the beginning of North Shore. And I think that Barry Smith's efforts and the whole school, I think that helped.
North Shore is the kind of place where you get to try everything. I certainly got a taste for performing here. And what happened was that I was kind of a stage crew guy. I was in chorus with Vin Allison, and he said, you should really try out for what we called the opera at that time, because it was all Gilbert and Sullivan. I got cast in The Mikado, and then I was in pretty much every production that the school put on from then out.
The crowning glory that I received from NSCDS was the Gilbert and Sullivan operas. Now, Gilbert was one of the foremost wordsmiths that the English language has ever produced. And I was in the 1st Infantry Division in World War II. The 1st Division landed on D-Day and so forth. Before the invasion of Normandy, I somehow learned that there was a little opera house there in Bournemouth where we were waiting for the invasion that was doing a production of Gilbert and Sullivan. And I got permission to attend this thing, and it was a refreshment, a deep refreshment.
PD was so much of the school, he believed that everybody should participate in everything. If you were an athlete, he wanted you to do well in art, he wanted you to do well in music, he wanted everybody in the opera, he wanted everybody in the vaudeville, he wanted every child to spend so much time on the stage every year.
At North Shore, they insisted you play a sport at least a couple of years. The participation allowed you to do something that you would never do on your own. And so you learn teamwork and what it's like to compete and then give your all to something.
Being from North Shore and getting to play field hockey at such a high level is such a gift. If I did make the team at another school, it would be my entire life. Not only have I been able to be on this team, but it's also given me the opportunity to have that experience and do other things outside of that.
We were all exposed to the same activities. We all took part in acting and playing and morning acts.
I had in my head that I was a sort of quantitative academic kind of person and not a quote-unquote artist. Taking art with John Almquist was a game changer. It opened up a whole new world for me.
Perry Dunlap Smith was an incredible optimist at the same time that he was a real pragmatist. I don't think it's an accident that a school like North Shore was founded in 1919 at the end of World War I. To me, I think it really shaped a lot of the way that he thought about the world and the way he thought about education, particularly democratic education and the education of students as citizens.
When I went there, all the boys were required to play football, but some of the boys didn't like it at all. And so I went to see Mr. Smith and said, I'd like to recommend that you withdraw this requirement. And I've got some allies that would be glad to talk about this with you. He said, you know, I've sometimes wondered about that. And so we met several times, and he did. The next year, it wasn't required. But where else could you do something like this and change something that is a part of the whole culture?
The relationship between the student and the faculty member is so strong in this school and always has been strong in this school.
I think it's very unique to North Shore that teachers have such an adult relationship with their students. I can strike up a conversation with anyone and really build relationships.
I think the reason that students allow us to get to know them is that we allow them to get to know us. I'm teaching English, I teach 2 different social studies classes, I do the service program, I do the school gardens, I've directed plays, I've played in the pit orchestra, I've coached.
You know, the kids have great relationships with the teachers here. To me as a parent and as a student, that we have teachers who are willing to spend extra time. What does that do for a kid's self-esteem that they may not even realize until they're much older?
Our math teacher was also our drama teacher, and when I was in 7th grade, he asked me to stage manage the middle school play. Ultimately, what it did was it gave me a new sense of myself as a leader in a way that I had never before seen as a possibility or sort of seen as a skill that I had. It really transformed who I could see myself as in a classroom.
North Shore looks for teachers who really like kids, teachers that really like to make individual connections and have a sense of ownership.
We're helping kids navigate life, and life is far bigger than math and science and writing and reading. I think so much about being a lower school teacher are those small moments that aren't necessarily academic time. It's transitions, it's lunch, it's recess. Those are actually the big moments in school for a kid.
Their teachers are there often encouraging them to stretch, to grow, to be a little bit just barely out of their comfort zone, because they know that's where these incredible growth opportunities happen.
Look at some of the traditions in the school. Morning X is a wonderful tradition.
We've been around 100 years because we've stuck to what we do best.
It continues to be a community of caring people who relish the happiness of pursuit, not just of knowledge, but knowledge of information, knowledge of soul, knowledge of the rest of the world, and an ability to be a cohesive group with a common goal.
It's integrity. I see my kids in lower school, and in a lot of ways they're doing exactly what I did here, which I'm so glad, because their traditions still carry on.
I think that we are working really hard to stay true to who we were from the start. I think we're also acknowledging the changing world, and we're working really hard to bring that in as well.
This has always been a place that has asked students and families to think outside themselves, to learn about themselves, certainly. That's part of what we do. But also to think about themselves in relationship to others. And so the things that matter most are those things that we talk about in our pillars. Challenging students, building community, carefully designing what it is that we do, and challenging appropriately the students, the teachers, the parents to make sure that the sum total is a remarkable education.
The values that you espouse need constantly to be discussed. They need constantly to be reinforced because I think it's very easy for schools to become ordinary. And this is no ordinary school.
It's a little school, but I think we have a big purpose.
The best part about it is the teachers. They're very nice.
Even if we try to hide, we can't.
There's nothing more exciting than seeing kids reach their full potential and do things that maybe even they didn't think they were going to do.
You can push yourself to your max, and it's just fun.
You look at the world in a totally new perspective. We believe that kids need to learn to cooperate first before they learn to compete, that you need to be asking yourself, what's the best I can do, not can I do better than you?
I think there's something here that's very rare, and that's a kind of closeness of the community, a sense of support, a sense of caring, a sense of interest.
I've had 3 brothers and a sister and I who each spent 12 long years here, and 4 of our own children were here, and 2 of them even married classmates. So North Shore has been a very important part of my life.
It is a very special place.
I think there are things we stand for that are really important.
I think it's important that a school continues to evolve and learn. And one of the things I love about North Shore is that
teachers teach, but we also learn, and we learn from our students, and we learn from their feedback and their experience and what they have to say, and I think we really take that to heart, and we try to grow from that. I think that's what makes a place that's been around for 100 years.
The atmosphere is still the same, and it's the people that make it the same.
There's kindness, there's welcoming, there's inclusion. There's a very strong heartbeat of warmth and care.
What's so wonderful about North Shore is it's held on to all those core values, but yet we're doing everything better.
Living and serving never gets old. North Shore continues to grow and expand and be responsive to the world and the environment that we're in.
How do we make sure that in another 100 years at our bicentennial, North Shore is even stronger than it is now? I think we have to continue making sure that we're aware of that balance of who we've always been, what are our core values, and yet how we have continued to reflect and reinterpret those values in light of changing times. If we keep doing that, we're going to be stronger and stronger in each iteration of this school, and people are going to continue to look at this school as something to be proud of.